Of the 8 malt whisky distilleries on the Hebridean island of Islay, the most famous is Laphroaig. Its rich, earthy, peaty taste is renowned the world over and is a favourite amongst whisky connoisseurs.
Laphroaig distillery has been here on this site for almost 200 years now. It was established in 1815 by a couple of brothers called the Johnston brothers, Sandy and Donald, who were actually farming here on this site and running a still, albeit illicitly, until 1815 when they decided to establish it. So it ran through generations of the family right up until the 1950s when the last family member died without any more family to pass it on to. Well, the distillery here is one of only 6 distilleries in the whole of Scotland to still produce some of its own malt for use here at the distillery. Now, the maltings is a process in which we're taking in barley and we're turning it into malt. Basically, we're changing the starch into sugars so that we can make alcohol. And there's only 6 distilleries in the whole of Scotland to still do some in a traditional style on the floors. The smoking process here is quite important for us. Laphroaig's known as being a very peaty malt, and so this is where the peat comes in. Before the malt is dried, we smoke the malt over a peat fire for 17 hours, and that just helps to put in all the flavours that we want for Laphroaig.
Peat smoke basically goes up through the perforated floor, up through the grain. Probably the depth of grain would be about a foot, 12 inches, and the smoke adheres itself to the grain and then passes up through the pagoda and out through into the atmosphere.
After it's dried, as I said, we let it rest for about 3 weeks. After that 3 weeks, we grind it up into grist and then we take it on to the mash house. And in the mash house, this is where we're going to extract the sugars that we locked in. So basically, we're soaking it in hot water, dissolving all those sugars and taking this sugary liquid that results called wort into the fermentation stage. Now, there's a couple of differences in the still house that will impact on the flavour profile of Laphroaig and make it so special that it is. One of them is the shape of the stills. Now, the shape of the still for each distillery will be different from distillery to distillery. And over time, as they are repaired or replaced, always an exact replica is taken to try and ensure that the flavours continue consistently.
Well, you get your wash stills, which is your first run, producing low wines. Then you've got your spirit stills. Spirited stills make up the second run, but they're broken into 3 phases. The first phase is called the foreshot, which is all your heavy alcohols that you don't really want. Second phase, middle cut, which is what we really want. And then the end is the fence, which goes back and mixes with the low wines from the wash stills to produce the charge for the next run of the spirit still.
Then moving on from there, we put it into the casks. And the casks that we use at Laphroaig, as I said, since the 1920s, we fill into single fill oak bourbon casks that hold about 200 litres, and then we send them off into any of the warehouses that we have. And we have 9 warehouses right here on Islay, some of the best warehouses right on Laphroaig Bay outside there, where all the sea Islay air does impact on the flavour as it's resting there for a minimum of 3 years, but we like to keep them a wee bit longer than that. Laphroaig is known world over as being maybe a controversial kind of dram. You either love it or you hate it, some people say. But I think it's something that people kind of aspire to. If you try it one time and you don't like it, come back to it in a few years. Your tastes might have matured a bit and you'll be open to more different experiences perhaps, and you're maybe going to enjoy it a bit better.